music and Spanish teacher before you became a rapper, right?
Absolutely.
Picture this: a Grammy stage spotlight, a Netflix crown placed in front of the world, millions chanting your lyrics in stadium echoes. And yet, every morning, you wake up on the same block that raised you. No Calabasas mansion, no Beverly Hills estate, no gated walls to keep the world outside. The world wanted him to move away. Label offers, magazine covers, luxury tours. But D-Smoke didn't move. He planted deeper. For him, success was never about escape. It was about elevation. He is the bilingual poet with a teacher's patience, the neighborhood son with worldwide influence, the rap champion who never traded identity for industry applause. While others chased the mountaintop lifestyle, he built one right at home. This is the story of a man who chose culture over clout, roots over skyscrapers, community over cameras. So the real question is this: is luxury about how high you rise, or how deeply you stay connected to the soil that made you? He was born Daniel Anthony Ferris in the heart of Inglewood, California, a city alive with rhythm, community, and struggle. In Inglewood, music isn't just something you hear. It's something you inherit, something that settles into your voice, your hands, your heartbeat. His family didn't just listen to music, they lived in it. His mother, a gospel singer, could fill a room without ever raising her voice. She taught him tone, breath, and what it meant to sing from the soul, not the throat. His brothers, C.R., who would go on to sign with Top Dog Entertainment, and Davian Ferris, were already shaping melodies before the world ever heard their names. Music was not an ambition in this household. It was the language. But there was another language too, one that would come to define D-Smoke in a way few artists had before: Spanish. Growing up, he spent time in bilingual classrooms, absorbing the rhythm of another culture. Spanish wasn't something he performed for effect. It became a part of his identity, a mirror to the multicultural pulse of Inglewood itself. He saw how language could connect worlds that seemed distant from each other, how it could open doors, how it could tell a story differently, and storytelling was always around him. Early life was filled with church choirs, live musicians, spoken word circles, and the kind of storytelling that doesn't come from books but from grandmothers, elders, neighbors leaning against porches after sunset. It was culture taught in real time. But the neighborhood had its other side too. Inglewood was love, but it was also survival. Talent alone didn't guarantee safety. Dreams didn't always make it past the block. You learned early. You either let the environment shape you, or you shaped yourself inside of it. Where others found escape in noise distraction, movement, chaos, Daniel found it in discipline. He studied, he wrote, he practiced. Not because someone told him to, but because something inside him refused to break. There were real pressures around him, expectations to stay small, stay local, stay defined by circumstance. But Daniel chose another path. Not the spotlight, not the stage at least. Not yet. He became a Spanish teacher. Before he stood with a microphone in front of thousands, he stood in front of a classroom of teenagers, many of whom reminded him of himself. Kids who were brilliant, hungry, talented, but living in a place where brilliance often goes unnoticed. He didn't just teach grammar. He taught confidence, identity, voice. He used music in his lessons, rhythm to explain sentence structure, cadence to help students remember vocabulary. One student once told him, "Mr. Ferris, I didn't know Spanish could sound like rap." That's when he realized teaching and music weren't separate. They were the same rhythm. Culture as a bridge instead of a wall. At the same time, he worked as a band instructor, shaping younger musicians, passing forward the legacy his family had given him. This is what makes his story different from every overnight industry success. There was nothing accidental about his rise, nothing rushed, nothing built on hype. He chose to build the foundation first, to understand people, to understand the community, to strengthen the soul before pursuing the spotlight. Because in Inglewood, you learn something early. Talent can get you attention, but character is what keeps you standing. And that character, that patience, is what made him dangerous when the world finally looked his way. Because when the moment came, he wasn't someone trying to be an artist. He was already one. If you had true, undeniable talent, would you chase the spotlight instantly, or would you build yourself quietly first, so that when the world arrived, you were ready? The world didn't just discover D-Smoke. It witnessed him live, unfiltered, without studio polish or industry hype, on one of the most visible stages in modern hip-hop. 2019, Netflix, Rhythm plus Flow, a competition judged by Cardi B, Chance the Rapper, and T.I. A show designed to find the next voice of American hip-hop, not based on trends, but on skill. When D-Smoke walked onto that stage, he didn't walk like someone searching for validation. He walked like someone who knew exactly who he was. Calm, measured, grounded. Like a man who had already done the inner work. Then he started to rap. Not just bars, not just flow, not just storytelling, but switches, seamless transitions between English and Spanish, performed in rhythm, mid-line, without forcing it. It wasn't a gimmick, it was an identity, a lifetime of culture unfolding inside a verse. Suddenly the industry had no choice but to pay attention. This wasn't street rap, this wasn't conscious rap, this wasn't Latin rap. This was all of it fused into one fully formed artist, a complete musician. The performances continued, each one deliberate, each one layered, each one revealing more of who he was and where he came from. Crowd didn't just cheer, they leaned closer, trying to catch every syllable. And when the finals came, he didn't crack, he didn't shift. He simply became more himself. He won the entire competition. But this victory didn't create him. It revealed him. Because while most competition show winners struggle to maintain momentum, D-Smoke already had the discipline, identity, and foundation to build something lasting. His debut project after the show, Inglewood High, was not a flashy victory lap. It was a statement, a tribute, a map of where he came from, a guided tour of the place that shaped him, its triumphs, its heaviness, its humanity. Critics noticed it was thoughtful and deeply human. When his name echoed through the Grammy Hall, he didn't smile. He closed his eyes, as if hearing his mother's voice from the church pews in Inglewood. Then came Black Habits, a cultural landmark. Black Habits earned Grammy nominations, including Best Rap Album, Best New Artist. Not because it was trendy, not because it chased the radio, but because it said something. The album honored Black history, Black family, Black resilience, and Black joy without ever needing to shout. It moved with jazz. It breathed with gospel. It strutted with West Coast bass lines. And it carried Spanish rhythms like a second heartbeat. This was not manufactured fusion. It was a heritage. It was a lineage. It was the full expression of a life lived in more than one world. He became the face of something hip-hop rarely shows at the mainstream level. Educated rap, bilingual lyricism, community-shaped excellence. He wasn't just another successful artist. He became an example, proof that you can rise without leaving home, grow without erasing where you came from, succeed without betraying your beginnings. He wasn't chasing fame. He was building presence. Every performance felt like a conversation with his community. Every lyric felt like history being documented in real time. This is what separated him from the wave. He didn't just make music. He made a movement rooted in cultural pride, multilingual expression, emotional intelligence, academic discipline, spiritual grounding, and the industry recognized it. Artists wanted to work with him. Universities invited him to speak. Fans saw themselves reflected, not romanticized, not simplified, but represented. He wasn't rising above his environment. He was bringing it with him. Now that the world knows his name, it's time to step inside the life he built. Luxury, in most celebrity narratives, begins at the top of the hills. High gates, skydecks, infinity pools, the kind of homes that tower over a city instead of living inside it. But D Smoke chose something different. He stayed home. He didn't leave Inglewood once success arrived. He reinvested in it with intention. His home is not a status symbol. It's a continuation of a story. This is not the home of someone trying to impress the world. This is the home of someone protecting his spirit. Walls in warm clay tones. Furniture made of wood that feels lived in, not showroom slick. A few miles away, the hills shine with marble and glass mansions. D Smoke's house shines with memory and rhythm. Textiles from African markets kente, mudcloth, Kuba cloth placed with purpose, not decoration. There are no neon art signs, no trophy case energy, no marble floors polished to museum gloss. The house feels like a breath. I like meditation, like a story. You can feel the family history layered in the walls. The sound of his mother humming gospel harmonies in the kitchen. The old church piano that was once the heartbeat of their home. The quiet, which is not silence, but presence. This is a home where voices are remembered, not erased. Walk a few steps and you reach the center of everything. Not a massive commercial studio. Not a tech-saturated neon recording bunker, but a human studio. Warm, minimal, focused. Wood panels soften the acoustics. Plants soften the corners. Books and journals fill the spaces where others would put sneakers or designer bags. This is where ritual happens. Music is not something he makes. It's something he receives, translates, shapes. He doesn't sit at the mic to impress crowds. He sits there to remember, to call forward ancestors. Rhythm, language, memory. This studio is where English and Spanish flow seamlessly. Gospel chords meet jazz phrasing. Hip-hop drums carry an African pulse. This is the spiritual engine of his life. Not fame, not applause, creation. Most artists chase cars that scream, engines loud enough to announce arrival. But D Smoke chooses motion that matches his energy. His Range Rover hums like jazz, low, steady, confident. The Tesla whispers like discipline itself. The Range Rover Sport, a car with presence, not arrogance. Comfortable, strong, reliable. This is the ride for moving through the city, grounded, steady, discreet. And when the sun hits just right, he rolls through Inglewood in a classic Cadillac DeVille, vintage chrome, deep leather seats, an echo of California's golden era. It's not about horsepower, it's about harmony. The car glides, not races, a reminder that power can move smooth. Both rides move with presence, not arrogance. Comfortable, strong, reliable. Motion without noise, movement without spectacle. Calm, purposeful, present. Look at the way he dresses. Not trend chasing, not designer overload, not celebrity drip. His wardrobe is Afrocentric minimalism anchored in identity, not audience. Earth tone linens, soft cotton layers, cultural beads and wooden bracelets. Jewelry that symbolizes lineage, not price. When he wears brands, he gravitates toward Black-owned and LA-rooted creators. Union Los Angeles, the Marathon clothing. Local creatives crafting one-of-one garments. He dresses not to be seen, but to feel aligned. Clothes that breathe, clothes that tell a story, clothes that move with rhythm. Because fashion to him is not a performance, it's a frequency. There is a noticeable stillness here, a quiet, almost sacred. This is the luxury people rarely talk about. Peace. Not the peace money buys, but the peace you build from discipline, boundaries, identity. The peace of knowing who you are, where you come from, what you're here to guard. And that is wealth most celebrities never reach. If you had the chance, would you choose a mansion in the hills that looks impressive to strangers, or the home that raised your spirit? Hold that thought. The world wants luxury to be loud, but D Smoke's luxury is rooted. It is the smell of sage clearing a room before recording. It is Spanish and English praying in the same breath. It is the memory of his mother's songs echoing through hallways. It is a Range Rover rolling gently through familiar streets. It is clothes chosen not to stun the world, but to respect the self. This is not the luxury of consumption. This is the luxury of conscious presence. A lifestyle built not to be admired, but to be lived. And in that quiet in the home where his voice first formed, we begin to see the man behind the musician. There's a version of fame that devours the private self, where every meal becomes content, every relationship becomes a rumor, every quiet moment is turned into a spectacle. D-Smoke refused that version. He built a life where the most important parts of him never touch the internet. At home, the energy is different. No stage lights, no applause, no need to perform, just stillness. He cooks his own meals slowly, intentionally. The kitchen smells like home. Rice, vegetables, gospel playing softly from an old speaker. No posts, no cameras, just rhythm. A pot of rice steaming. Fresh vegetables seasoned with memory. A recipe passed down, not posted. In these moments, D-Smoke is not the artist, the Grammy nominee, or the Netflix champion. He is Daniel, son, brother, man in motion, grounded in the everyday rituals that keep the spirit from drifting. Most artists see the studio as a stage, a place to impress others. For D-Smoke, the studio is a sanctuary. This is where he thinks, not just performs, where he prays with rhythm, reflects through melody, unpacks life through verse. The silence in the room is not empty. It's charged, alive, listening. This is the space where he keeps the world from swallowing him whole. D-Smoke's life runs on rhythm, not just musical rhythm, but spiritual rhythm. He wakes slow, not to alarms, not to noise, but to intention. A few minutes of meditation, a short prayer, a grounding breath. For him, spirituality is not performance, not quotes on social media, not sage burned because it looks aesthetic. It is restoration, a daily remembering who he is, where he comes from, what he stands for. He protects his inner world with care because the world outside is always trying to take more than it gives back. Family is not just support for D-Smoke. Family is the origin, his mother's voice gospel and grit, his brother's musicians who speak the same emotional language. Their home once full of music before success ever arrived is still the emotional anchor. It's not just love, it's cultural continuity. Family is where he is fully understood without needing to explain himself. No spotlight, no translation, no performing identity, just home. D-Smoke does not show his romantic relationships publicly, and not because there's something to hide, but because there are things worth protecting. Love, in his world, is not for public consumption. No meet the girlfriend rollouts. No red carpet couple look moments. No interviews describing intimacy. He understands the danger of letting the crowd into the most sacred spaces of the heart. He believes some parts of life should be protected from applause. There is strength in that decision. Discipline, even. Because privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is valuable. In private, his passion burns quietly, not the loud flame of ambition, but the steady flame of purpose. He is not chasing fame. He is shaping a message. Not chasing relevance, but resonance. Music is not a career strategy. Music is legacy work, and legacy requires silence sometimes. Space to listen, space to grow, space to remember the voice before the world tried to influence it. Off camera, D-Smoke is the brother who checks in regularly, the mentor who gives time to young musicians quietly, the thinker who reads, writes, reflects, the man who protects his peace as carefully as others protect their wealth. His private life is not glamorous. It is intentional, slow, rooted, humans. The part of him not meant for headlines, only for the soul. If you were given fame, what part of your life would you protect from the world? Hold that answer. Because what he protects in private is exactly what he teaches in public. Before stages, before crowds, Before Grammys and global tours, D Smoke was a teacher, and he never stopped being one. Even now, after fame, his mission remains rooted in the idea that art is not a luxury. It is a necessity, a survival tool, a mirror for identity, a bridge between worlds. For D Smoke, activism is not about statements, it's about structure. He invests in programs that build skill, not just awareness. Music literacy, creative writing workshops, bilingual expression, cultural storytelling. The goal is not to create entertainers. The goal is to create voices. Because when a young person learns to express themselves, they become harder to silence. This is a revolution without a slogan. Education as empowerment. Art as identity. D Smoke isn't bilingual because it sounds impressive. He is bilingual because it is part of his cultural truth. He teaches that language is not something to hide or assimilate away. It is something to own. When he raps in Spanish and English, he communicates something deeper than lyrics. Your identity is not a limitation. Your identity is a doorway to heritage, to the community, to self-understand. And when students see someone who looks like them speak with fluency, intelligence, and pride, the world expands. Not because it changes, but because they do. D Smoke's message is rooted in the Black American experience, but it doesn't stop there. He bridges Africa, Latin America, the diaspora, the street, the church, the classroom, the global stage. His music demonstrates something rarely shown in mainstream rap. That Black identity is not a box, it's a universe filled with rhythm, history, language, struggle, resilience, beauty, and memory. He doesn't just represent culture, he connects it. His philanthropy is not loud, not press-driven, not headline-chasing. He funds school art departments, local youth programs, music instruments for underfunded districts, mentorship pipelines for young Black educators. But more importantly, he shows up. He sits in classrooms. He listens to student lyrics. He encourages the shy ones. He challenges the bold ones. He is not a celebrity dropping in on the community. He is a community member who became a celebrity. There is a difference, a profound one. Everything he builds points to one principle. Knowledge is power. Culture is power. And music is the bridge between the two. Music is how stories travel, how memory survives, how history refuses to be erased. D Smoke's legacy is not awards, not fame, not charts. It is the continuation of voice. Voice passed down, voice protected, voice uplifted. He didn't just return to Inglewood, he rebuilt its voice. In every artist's story, there is a moment where the world begins to listen. But for D Smoke, the world didn't just listen, it learned. I learned that excellence can be quiet. I learned that culture can be power. Learned that you can elevate without abandoning the place that raised you. He didn't trade Inglewood for somewhere higher. He turned Inglewood into somewhere higher. He didn't escape. He uplifted. From classrooms filled with students searching for identity, to stadiums filled with voices lifting his words into the air, D Smoke remains the same man. Rooted, grounded, intentional. He reminds us that success is not measured by distance, but by depth. So the question isn't how far he has traveled. The real question is, how deeply has he stayed connected to who he is? If stories like this inspire you, subscribe to the Black Empire Files, where culture breathes, legacy lives, and every story returns home.